Alright, hello friends, welcome to today's video. If we have not met, hi, my name is Tanya and I like to talk about books on this channel. So if you like those things, then stay tuned and I hope you stick around. And thank you so much for watching and taking the time to stop by. So in today's video, I am doing my January wrap-up. I have to think about it for a second. So I think I read 6 or 7 books. So I just want to talk about those with you guys today and hopefully not take too long, but just a little snippets and then my reviews. And one things I wanted to mention, I am really excited because I think I may also be mentioning this in like a bookish haul video, but I'm using this journaling. I think it's technically called the Book Talk Journal is the name of it. I'll try to link it. I found it through Instagram, the creator. She does sell on Amazon as well, which is how I ordered it. It does take a little bit of time because you do wait for it because she makes them herself, but I'm just so excited for this year. So you can see that maybe at the end to kind of show you guys a flip through of the pages that I did for this month. Maybe I'll start doing that. It's not anything super crazy, but I just like that you get a visual of the covers, which I think is just really fun. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I am using that this year and really loving it to kind of stay on task with my reviews and things. First book that I read in January, right at the very beginning, was Redeeming 6, and this is book 4 in the, again, I never know, the Boys of Tommen. I should figure that out. That'll be a New Year's goal, right? For this year, figure out how to say it correctly. But this is a romance series. It takes place in like high school, beginning of college kind of thing, and it takes place in Ireland, and I've mentioned it a few times in my videos if you guys have seen them. Trying to explain this is honestly, it's just hard to say. It's just like people in high school, which doesn't seem that exciting, but the way that it's written and it follows people's lives, and because this is book 4, it's taking place with characters that we have met from the very beginning and things that we have learned and different traumas that they're going through, different situations that they're in from the previous books. But I feel like if you liked Magnolia Parks and you like how it's just written and describing people's lives, essentially, you're just kind of like drama in a way, but it's also just written very beautifully. I really liked it, and this one I ended up giving 4 out of 5 stars. I honestly do feel like it probably could be a 5-star because this whole series, I just really love it, and I can't wait to read the next one. I'm gonna pick it up hopefully in April. And from Blackwell's, I think it is, because I like all of them to match. But I really like it, and there's just something about the way that it's written. But a reason I feel like it wasn't my favorite, I love Joey in this because it follows the story of Joey and Aoife, I think is her name. But Aoife sometimes drove me a little bit nuts in the book. I found things about how she talked about Joey and kind of kept bringing up his past was frustrating to me, and that was some of the main parts of the story, so it took away a little bit of that for me because I just found it frustrating at times for the storyline. But otherwise it still was wonderful. Not wonderful as in like woohoo happy all the time, because there definitely are challenging things and like trauma and things, so definitely check on that before you read it. But I still really would recommend this series, and I'm definitely picking up the next one. I wanted to read the next book in this series. I forget the name of the series, but it's I read the first one a few months ago, and so then I read this one, Be With Me. This is the second one. I ended up rating it 2 out of 5 stars. I was so excited for this because it had characters that were mentioned in the first book, and I was really excited for the concept because the girl character, Teresa, she is like a former dancer, like a ballet dancer, and I was really excited and kind of intrigued by that world. But I just felt overall, the reason I would describe this is I felt like I wasn't really rooting for the characters. It was a very like back and forth. It was supposed to, not exactly forbidden romance, but he's like the best friend of the brother, and he just kept thinking like, no, we shouldn't be together, and be like this back and forth that was kind of annoying. That didn't really feel like a reason for why they were going back and forth. And then also all of a sudden there was this random like plot twists of like her roommate, and then there was like stuff with like crime, and like this book is not that big, and so I felt like I'm like just focus on the relationship. Like I felt like there was all these plots going on. It was just a little bit too much, and it just overall in the end it kind of fell short, which I was just disappointed. I read through it because I do like her writing in some ways, but just the character, I don't know, this was just not it for me. So this one was 2 out of 5 for me. I liked kind of still seeing those characters because it's part of that series, but it's definitely my least favorite out of the series so far. And the other one that I read was the third book in the series, which is Stay With Me Indifferent. This one I definitely liked better than the second one, which was a good follow-up from the second one. So this one follows Kala, I believe is her name, and she's also one of the people that you meet in the series, and she goes back to kind of her small town. There's a little bit of a mystery going on. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but there's obviously a romance that ensues, but it's kind of like small town vibes. There is some mystery, but I really like this one. I did find like it was a redeeming quality, and I kind of like learning about her past and some of the things that she endured and how she's dealing with those things now. I did end up rating this, I think, 3 out of 5. I think that I liked the characters and I was excited to be in that world again with the friends and things, but sometimes the writing was a little bit frustrating to me. But overall, I mean, 3 out of 5 is not bad. So it was an enjoyable experience. I did go through it pretty quickly, but I would say like a 3 out of 5. But I am glad that I read this series. It was just a really fun time. The next book that I read was an audiobook that I listened to, and it was The Woman in Me, which is the Britney Spears memoir. And I've only read, I think this is my second memoir in my whole life. I'm trying to get a little bit better and be like a genre that I like to check out a little bit more this year. I think it's hard for me to rate memoirs because it's someone's life. I will say, for one, it was very interesting to find out more. I'm not a huge diehard Britney Spears fan, so I didn't really know much about like Britney Spears, but it was nice to like find out, and just, it was also sad at times like about her life, but it was interesting to like hear it from her essentially. I think the narrator did a wonderful job on the audiobook. It was a very enjoyable experience. It helped me like really fly through it, because I think with memoirs I have a hard time reading them in print, but I enjoy listening to them. But I have to say that the way it was written, a little bit from, if I had to kind of judge it from a bookish standpoint, I would say maybe 3 out of 5, just because it was a little bit like there were kind of thoughts started and then finished. It was kind of like scattered a little bit. It wasn't horrible because it's not a very big book, but that's just one thing that I noticed. I would kind of be listening, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, what was happening? What's like, it was a little bit not as cohesive as I would have preferred. Like, again, but it's hard to rate somebody's memoir, right? So, but that's just kind of one thing that I would say. But I do think if you are curious about Britney Spears' life or learning more, I definitely did enjoy it. The next book that I read was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I ended up rating this, I think, a 3.5 stars out of 5. I'm sure maybe a lot of you know what this is about, but it is a YA thriller, I would say, or kind of like suspense, murder mystery, and it's the first book in a series. I'm not sure if I will be continuing it because just something seemed a little bit far-fetched, and maybe that's me now as like an older adult reading YA, that sometimes, especially I think when it comes to like murder mysteries, there were some things where it was really frustrating. I was like, that doesn't make sense, or like, why are you doing that? It was just a little bit annoying. I felt like the beginning was a little bit slow, and the middle was actually really good, my favorite part, but the ending was just not very believable. I feel like I didn't really, it was just a lot going on. I don't want to give it away, but it follows the story of let's see, what is Pip, and she is trying to do this like senior corner store, what is it called? I can never think of the name, but she's doing this project for her senior year where she's looking at a murder that happened in her hometown, and she doesn't think that the murderer is who people are saying the murderer was, and so she wants to prove it otherwise, and things start coming out, and soon she's like being threatened. It's a good time, I think, but I think it was a lot for me. Like, it was hyped up, and so I expected more. This is one of those times where the hype kind of like was a negative for me, so it was okay, but I don't know if I'll be continuing the series. Maybe. I've heard good things, but we'll see. Then the next one that I read is the Great Illustrated Classics, The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood. So I actually read this with my kids. If you don't know, I have 3 children and we homeschool, and so one of the things we like to do is do read alouds, and my kids will pick. A lot of times they've really been getting into the classics. We have these different Great Illustrated Classics, and I will just say I think a goal a lot of people have I see on BookTube is to read more classics, and same here, I want to read more classics, but I also, like, classics are not easy. They're challenging, at least for me, and I think sometimes these are a great way to get into it because, for one, there's pictures, which is really fun, and I think, you know what, like, this could be a good way to read classics. Like, who says that you have to read the hardcore original one? Like, why not start with this one? And I feel like it's a good way to get an overview and a good understanding. And then I feel like if I picked up the like original Robin Hood, it would make a lot more sense. So definitely I feel like, and I mean, if you're reading this on your own, it's a quick read. They're like 200 something pages, and they're just really fun, and it's fun to read with your family or obviously by yourself, but we're just really liking these, so I really liked reading this classic. I ended up giving it like 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't really know what to expect. We love Robin Hood and like the legend of Robin Hood, but it seemed a little bit almost repetitive because it was like they would meet somebody, they would fight with somebody, the somebody was strong, he would join his group, and it was like the same pattern like every chapter almost. So that was a little bit like from that standpoint, but it was still a fun read and to learn actually about the legend of like Robin Hood and the backstory of all that. So fun read. Then the next book that I read was Belladonna. I just really also love the cover, and this was a first for me that it ended up being, it's a gothic romance, and I'm kind of a baby and scared of ghosts and things, so I was just like nervous to, when I first started reading it, parts of it were like a little bit kind of scary or icky to me because I get scared by that. So just a heads up, it is in this book that there's like kind of spirits that are kind of a little bit creepy at some points because it is like gothic. But overall, I did rate this 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really fun romance, and it follows the story of, why can't I think ever remember names, Signa. And so she actually basically, like, she can't die, and so since she's been younger, like, she's been close to dying, but she ends up seeing death, and so he has kind of followed her through her whole life, and so now she's an orphan, and she's kind of constantly being pulled from place to place because she's a minor, and so she's at this latest location. It's like a family member, I think it's her cousins, and there's basically a murder that has happened, and so there's a mystery. It's gothic kind of vibes. It is really fun read, and obviously elements of romance as well. And I have already started the second book, but I think I would recommend it. Check it out and see. I definitely can see where it could be for some and not for others, but I think if you like romantasy, then you probably would like this as well. It just has a little bit more of that gothic feel, but I still did really enjoy this one. There you have it. Those are my 7 books that I read in January, and I hope you all had a great reading month. Comment down below, what have you been reading, or what was your favorite or maybe even least favorite book of the month. I'll write mine down below, and then I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Thanks.